I never thought I'd fall for a liar until I discovered he was my secret guardian all along. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with summer heat, a humidity that stuck to my skin like a second layer. I was sitting on the back porch, the sun hanging low, casting long shadows, when he slipped through the gate. Jason, with his tousled hair and worn jeans, was a vision of carefree charm. But deep down, I felt the weight of the storm brewing. He smiled, and my heart quickened. Yet, that smile masked secrets that would rip our fragile world into shreds. I could sense something amiss in the way he moved, a tension coiling in his shoulders. Something dark lurked behind those piercing blue eyes, something I couldn't place. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to believe in the boy who skated by my fears, who made me laugh when life felt heavy. Jason had always been more than just a friend. He was the boy who chased away the shadows. My parents' divorce had shattered our family, and I clung to him like a lifeline. He became my escape, my safe haven filled with late-night whispers and secrets shared under starlit skies. I used to feel invincible with him, like nothing could touch us. But with one lie, everything changed. The truth unraveled like a fraying rope. My mother confided in me, her voice trembling, "You need to be careful, sweetheart. Jason sometimes he's not who he says he is." Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with uncertainty. I couldn't believe it. Doubt crept in, thorny and invasive. Still, I brushed it off, shaking my head almost defiantly. Love was blind, and I was too deep to see the warning signs. Days passed with whispers flowing around us, hushed voices in the hallways, glances that felt like daggers. I felt the world constrict, the laughter fading into eerie silence as the unease grew louder. Every lingering look from my friends made my stomach twist. Did they know? Were they watching me unravel? Then came that night. The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes. I was jolted awake by a loud crash, my heart racing like a wild animal. Downstairs, the shadows moved, and there he was again. Jason stood there, breathless, eyes wide, with an urgency that knotted my stomach. "You need to trust me, Jess," he whispered, his voice hitching with desperation, but trust was fraying, slipping through my fingers like sand. He moved closer, and I caught a glimpse of something glinting in his hand. My heart pounded. What was he hiding? I thought back to the whispers, the secrets. Questions flooded my mind, but fear gripped my tongue. I wanted to scream, to know, to understand the truth beneath the lies. "Just tell me who you are," I urged, breathless. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. His expression flickered, torn between resolve and something deeper, something I couldn't decipher. Then he hesitated, and silence engulfed us. What would he say? What was the truth? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence stretched painfully thin, a taut wire ready to snap, and I could see the turmoil playing out across Jason's face. He opened his mouth, his resolve flickering like a candle in the wind, then closed it again. The glint from his hand danced in the dim light, a tantalizing secret. I felt lightheaded, caught between the desire to leap forward and the instinct to retreat. "Please," I whispered, trying to grasp the solidity of the moment, "you have to tell me." The urgency in my voice morphed into a soft plea, a cry garnished with vulnerability. Behind him, the shadows waved mockingly, whispering lost promises of trust. "What do you want from me, Jess?" His voice was thick with frustration and fear, but a flicker of something warmer made its way through the tension. "You think you can just take the truth and make everything okay? It's not that simple." I stepped forward, the sound of my heartbeat thundering in my ears. What's not simple? Not lying to me. Just be honest for once. I could feel the tears welling, unbidden, as the weight of his dishonesty slammed against my chest. He took a deep breath, the air trembling. There are reasons for everything, and I can't just— He paused, glancing over his shoulder as if the shadows were listening, then lowered his voice to a near whisper. I'm not what you think I am. The world around me faded, leaving just Jason and the truth he was avoiding. My heart ached, a mix of love and betrayal knotting inside me. Then tell me what you are, I urged, desperation clawing through my throat. That he stepped closer, the air crackling with an energy that felt almost electric. I'm not just a kid from the neighborhood. I'm here for a reason, Jess. His eyes darted toward the window, alert and wary. I can't explain everything right now, but trust me when I say, I'm trying to protect you. The implication hit me like a cold gust, and a flicker of hope fought against the doubt twining in my heart. Protect me? From what? I can't get into it, but your life is in danger. That's why I've been distant, why I didn't say anything. It was to keep you safe. The very words he spoke rang with an urgency that matched the wild thrum in my chest. My breath hitched, the gravity of his revelation swirling amidst the storm in my thoughts. Danger? What are you talking about? Confusion mixed with fear, I couldn't grasp the full weight of what he was saying. My fingers tightened around the railing behind me as I desperately searched his eyes for answers, validation. Just know that I care about you more than you can understand, he said, desperation lacing his tone. And when it becomes clear, you'll see the truth. Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by footsteps thundering toward the front door. My heart leaped into my throat, panic flooded my veins. What was that? Stay here. Jason warned, his voice a low hiss as he flung open the door without hesitation, stepping out into the darkness. I'll handle it. It felt wrong, he was leaving me behind, putting himself in danger. Jason, wait. I called after him, my voice filled with a fear that seemed to thicken the night air. That I hesitated for a heartbeat longer, then leapt out after him, my fear for him outweighing my instincts to stay safe. The backyard was swallowed by shadows, the only light coming from the flickering street lamp far down the road. I strained my ears, hoping to catch any sound that might tell me where he was. Jason! I shouted again, panic clawing at my throat. Then I heard a voice, low and gravelly, slithering through the night. You think you can run? You can't hide forever. I stumbled back, fear rooting me to the ground. I was not prepared for this ominous threat. My heart raced, shadows moved, morphing into figures as I strained to see. My pulse pounded in my ears, uncertainty and terror twisting together like vines. And then a loud crash erupted, followed by a cry that sent shivers rippling through me. My worst fears splintered in that instant, and I rushed forward, feeling the weight of the world lift and fall with each footstep, propelling me into unknown depths of chaos. I had to find him. But now, as uncertainty wrapped around me, the spark of hope dimmed. What if the boy who had once chased away the shadows was now caught within them himself? Jason! I called, desperation tinged with dread. What if I was too late? The dark mass of the backyard closed in around me, a suffocating stitch of fear and uncertainty sewing my heart to the ground. My breath came in shallow gasps, mingling with the chill of the night as adrenaline electrified my body. What had I done? I thought, the words rolling through my mind like a relentless tide. How could I have let him slip away from me, from that moment where everything teetered between trust and betrayal? Jason! I shouted again, my voice trembling, echoing against the stillness of the night. The fabric of reality warped in that moment, time stretching thin as every shadow pulsed with a threat I couldn't see. I felt exposed, the chilling realization weighing me down like lead. What if he was in trouble, and I was too foolish to realize the danger until it was too late? The figure that loomed in the shadows turned, glaring at me. His features hardened like stone under the scant light, and his eyes glinted with malice. You shouldn't have followed him, girl, he growled, advancing toward me with deliberate steps. I could see the muscles in his arms coiling, ready to strike. And no. I stammered, retreating instinctively, my back colliding with the cool, uneven surface of the fence. Panic surged through my limbs, an unyielding fight-or-flight response. The distance between us shrank, and in a futile attempt to create space, I raised my hands, palm out. Please, just let him go. He hasn't done anything to you. A sinister chuckle escaped him, chilling my blood further. Oh, he has done plenty. He leaned closer, spitting words that dripped with disdain. You think you can shield him from the world? That you'd know him when the truth is hidden in plain sight? Every word felt like a dagger to my heart, each sentiment cutting deeper. I wasn't just fighting for Jason, I was fighting to believe in the boy who had filled my life with spark. The boy who had promised to protect me. He's not a threat. I protested, my voice shaking. He would never hurt anyone. For an instant, the man paused, his eyes narrowing as if weighing my naivety. You're too trusting, Jess. It'll be your downfall. He took another step forward, and the ground beneath me seemed to vibrate with each heavy footfall, rumbling with impending danger. Then, a shadow flickered from the corner of my eye. My heart soared momentarily at the familiar shape that emerged from the darkness yet thrummed with fear at the intensity of the scene. Jason burst into the fray, his silhouette stark against the muted backdrop. Breathing heavily, he positioned himself between me and the threat. Get back, Jess. He called, lowering his body into a defensive stance, muscles taut with determination. You don't know what you're dealing with. In that moment, something bright flared within me, piercing through my anxiety. He had come back for me, strong and protecting. But the heaviness of confusion hovered like a storm cloud. I wanted to scream at him to explain everything, what he was really hiding, why danger seemed to flock to him like moths to a flame. Stop! I shouted, desperate to bring clarity to the chaos unfolding before me. What is happening? Who is this? What do you mean I don't know anything? My words burst forth in a desperate cascade. Jason's gaze flickered toward me, and for a heartbeat, I saw the profound weight in his eyes. There was urgency, fear, a silent scream for understanding. I'll explain everything later. He promised, grim determination shaping his features. But you need to trust me. You need to stay back. The stranger laughed again, a harsh sound that sliced through the tension. Trust him. That's rich. Trust the liar. His words dripped with venomous disdain. Before I could respond, he lunged, heightening the stakes. Jason reacted instantly, his fists clenched as he intercepted the blow, a scuffle igniting the night with raw energy. I gasped, desperate for them to keep their paths aligned as fists met flesh, each strike echoing against my ribcage. Blood roared in my ears, drowning out my thoughts. Stop it! I screamed, desperately wishing I could dismantle this shattering chaos, yet felt utterly powerless to control the unraveling threads of our realities. That in a moment that felt suspended in time, Jason threw a powerful punch that caught the man off guard, and for a fraction of a second, I dared to hope we might escape this. But the man recovered almost instantly, his eyes burning with a feral energy as he charged at Jason, anger propelling him forward. Run, Jess! Jason shouted, his voice cracking as he blocked another blow with his forearm but was clearly struggling against the force. No! I'm not leaving you! I cried back, feeling raw desperation swell inside me. But as the chaos spiraled further, I felt the grip of inevitable truth settle over me. Just as I summoned the courage to rush into the fray, another shock reverberated through the night, knocking me off my feet. A sharp pain ricocheted through my side as I lost my balance. In that chaotic moment, as I fell, I glimpsed Jason, unwavering and defiant, and the world around us twisted into a blur. Fear and uncertainty coalesced into one stark realization: I didn't just have to save him, I would have to save myself from the shadows. But could I, when every choice felt like the wrong one, and then darkness enveloped me, a shroud of confusion settling around my mind, leaving me suspended, trapped between my heart and the harsh reality that threatened everything I understood. At that moment, I realized I was about to uncover truths that would change everything, if I could survive the night. The feeling of weightlessness faded, replaced by a harsh awakening as I gasped for air, my senses jolting back to reality. My lungs burned, and the world around me came slowly into focus. The scent of damp earth mixed with the coppery tang of blood hung in the air, threatening to overwhelm me. Fear clawed at my insides as I struggled to sit up, every muscle protesting as if they were made of brittle glass. "Jess. Please." Jason's voice was a lifeline, pulling me from the depths of confusion. I blinked, struggling to gather my thoughts, but his desperate tone gripped my heart tighter than any physical injury could. I turned my head toward the sound, and as the shifting darkness yielded to the blur of slashing shadows, I saw him. Jason was still fighting, his back to me, a solid wall against the menace that loomed with violent intent. He fought with desperation, blocking and striking, sweat beading on his brow while streaks of crimson marred his skin from where the other man had landed blows. Each rough shove sent pangs through my chest. I knew he was fighting for more than just himself, he was fighting for us. A surge of determination coursed through me, instilling me with purpose. I pushed myself to rise, the ground trembling beneath my weight. My heart ached as I witnessed the conflict, a visceral reminder of how fragile and entwined our fates had become. I stumbled, steadied myself against the rough wood of the fence, and took a step forward. "Stop. Please." My voice rang out, trembling through the chaos. Jason's head snapped toward me, his fierce expression cutting through the haze of adrenaline and fear. "Jess, get back." But I couldn't retreat. Not now, not when everything I cared about was at stake. "I won't leave you," I shouted, each syllable echoing the truth of my heart. The urgency of my words cut through the night as I felt the shadow of doubt trying to creep back into my mind. "I need to know the truth." A momentary pause lingered in the air, like the hush before a storm unleashed its fury. The assailant, a hulking figure silhouetted against the moonlit sky, hesitated, seeming to size me up as if attempting to assess the threat I posed. "Truth?" he snarled, taking slow steps towards me, his lip curling. "The truth is, you're just a naive girl who has bitten off more than she can chew." "No," I forced the word out, refusing to let his contempt seep into my spirit. "I know Jason. I believe in him." A disdainful laugh escaped from his lips, but beneath that veneer of arrogance, I caught a glimpse of something darker: fear. "You don't know what he is capable of, do you?" "What are you talking about?" I shouted, anger fueling my resolve, though dread twisted within me. The longer the shadows draped around us, the more I feared they would consume Jason too. With an unexpected surge, Jason launched himself at the man, frustration igniting like fire within him. This battle felt different, uncontainable rage and desperation fueled each blow. As I fought to process the turmoil of my heart, I noted the way Jason's expression transformed. He was no longer the light-hearted boy I knew but a fierce warrior drawn from a place of deep loyalty and love. When the two men staggered against the fence, the assailant grunted and gathered himself, but Jason was relentless. "You don't know anything about me," he shouted, igniting a flicker of pride in my heart amid the chaos. "You think you can take me down? I won't let you harm her." And then, I saw a flash of something deep in Jason's eyes, a vulnerability laid bare, conjured by the fierce battle he was waging. It was a moment of clarity, the air thick with truths neither of us were prepared to face. He'd been carrying secrets, shields he built to protect me, but at what cost? A wave of anguish washed over me as I took another step forward. "Jason." My voice cracked under the weight of 1,000 fears and questions. I couldn't stand idly by as the man swung his arm, sending Jason sprawling to the ground. "Get away from him." I lunged, adrenaline thrumming in my veins, but as I did, a sudden flash of light burst across the landscape. An engine roared to life, slicing through the night, 2 headlights illuminating the scene. The intruder froze, his malevolence flickering like a candle in the wind. "You think this is over?" He spat, glancing between the car and us, and for a split second, he seemed to wrestle with the decision to press further. Before I could piece together the implications, he turned and bolted into the shadows, leaving us in a charged silence that echoed from the aftermath. The car rolled to a stop, wheels skidding on the gravel, and the door swung open. "Get back!" A voice called, but it was drowned out by Jason's frantic movement, scrambling up as if his life depended on it. My heart shifted gears into overdrive as I recognized the silhouette of figure from my past, one I thought I'd never see again. Ben. The name spilled from my lips, a familiar warmth laced with an undercurrent of disbelief. He stepped forward, unyielding, and for a fleeting moment, the past clashed with the present. "Are you okay? What happened?" His gaze flicked between me and Jason, gathering the fractured pieces of our fragmented reality. But in the next instant, all that weighty uncertainty I saw on Jason's face surfaced again. Beneath the determination and bruises that told tales of his struggle, there was a glint of something I hadn't noticed before, a fear that evoked the primal instinct to protect not just him but also myself. A realization dawned that my heart was intertwined with lives we both didn't fully understand. As Ben's presence wrapped around us like an unexpected blanket, I realized I wasn't just fighting against the darkness that lingered, I was contending against the very fabric of trust one had woven with Jason. This new thread, the impending truth of our past, threatened to unravel everything. Jason began, his voice breaking, imploring me to heed his words, but there, enveloped by the haze of confusion and fear, I stood on the precipice of a truth I'd never anticipated, a truth that would forever change the landscape of our lives, and in that heartbeat, poised between the light of hope and the encroaching shadows that bore witness to our turmoil, I prepared for the storm to come, anchoring myself to the only truth I had left. I had to believe in him, but this revelation would demand more than I ever imagined. Jason's gaze pierced through the mist of uncertainty that encased us, uncertainty that was somehow rich and suffocating in equal measure. The questions hung in the air between us, sharp as knives, and each one demanded an answer that felt just out of reach. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words felt heavy on my tongue, as if I were afraid to summon them into existence. Ben. His name felt foreign, almost like an echo from a life I was still trying to comprehend. I turned my attention to my childhood friend, the boy with whom I shared countless memories, laughs, secrets, and the innocent embers of a bond that had long lain dormant. "What are you doing here?" He stepped closer, the light from the car casting shadows across his features, revealing the worry etched on his brow. "I saw the fight from down the road. I thought no, I was terrified something might have happened to you." His voice softened, and against the backdrop of chaos, I saw a flicker of the boy I had once known, the protector who would do anything to keep me safe. "But you shouldn't have come," Jason interjected, brushing himself off with a fierce urgency, his focus remaining locked on me. "I told you to stay back." I hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. "You know him?" "Know him?" Jason's voice raised an octave, and in that moment, the tension became almost tangible. "You think he's going to help? He's not what you believe him to be." Ben shot back, "I'm here because I care. You think this is some game?" The heat of their exchange hung over us like a storm cloud, charged and full of unsaid things. My heart raced as I watched them, two pieces of my life colliding violently, with me at the center, dizzying and disorienting. "I need to know what you're hiding, Jason." The words spilled out before I could weigh them, raw and laced with frustration. His jaw clenched, and for a split second, vulnerability washed over him, but he quickly masked it with determination. "I'll explain everything, please, just give me a moment." His earnestness struck a chord, but doubt clawed at my insides, poisoning even the simplest of reassurances. "How can I trust you?" I took a step back, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. "This isn't just about you. You're fighting for something, someone," I said, my voice laced with desperation as my heart begged for clarity amidst the chaos. His eyes flickered, revealing the tumult beneath his outward courage. "I'm fighting for us, Jess. You and me. I swear." But it didn't feel real. And then I saw it, the movement out of the corner of my eye, the shadow retreating into the safety of the trees. A knot formed in my stomach, pulling me away from the moment we were enveloped in. We're not safe. He's still out there. Ben stiffened, his instinct to protect surging to the forefront. Then we need to get out of here now. Jason frowned, his brows furrowing in frustration, but his body language suggested he struggled with the decision. No. He replied sharply, before softening his tone slightly, we can't run without knowing what we're facing. Knowing? Ben scoffed. You want to know what you're facing? Here's the truth. A beat of tension, and then he pointed at me, as if I were an open book to be read. Jess, you don't have a choice but to hear this, and you need to hear it now, before it's too late. I opened my mouth to speak but found myself entranced by his expression, the depth of emotion swirling in his eyes, something akin to regret, but raw with urgency. What does that even mean? Your past and present are tied together in ways you can't even begin to imagine, Ben stated, each word carved with an unwelcome solemnity. Jason's life, the secrets he hides could destroy everything you faced or thought you understood about each other. Jason stiffened, his hands balling into fists. Don't listen to him, Jess. But it felt too late, the seed of doubt taking root too rapidly. The wind picked up, brushing against my skin like a warning. What are you talking about? The walls felt like they were closing in. What are you both hiding? The atmosphere pulsed with intensity, a swirling reprieve of truth desperately seeking an escape. Jason opened his mouth to respond, but Ben pushed forward, desperation cracking the surface of his calm. You need to know he's a part of something bigger than you can imagine. There's a reason he can fight like that, a reason he acts the way he does. Secrets aren't just a part of this moment, they're ingrained in him. No. Jason shouted, his voice rich with urgency as he grasped for the reins of our spiraling reality. Stop. Jess, please trust me. I've done everything to protect you from this life. Protect me from what? The words came out sharper than I intended, fueled by the sense of betrayal that had begun nagging at my heart. The shadows shifted around us, deepening the gulf between the three of us as the air grew heavy. An electric moment stretched in silence, the tension almost unbearable. From the truth, Jason finally admitted in a barely audible whisper, his eyes searching mine for understanding, and in that moment, the gravity of his words ignited a fire within me, a longing intertwined with fear. A realization swept through me, if secrets were the threads holding us together, what would happen if the tapestry they formed was torn apart? Before I could wrestle with my own thoughts, the echo of footsteps reverberated from behind the trees, followed by the unmistakable snap of a twig splitting the silence like an unwanted omen. Panic surged as I glanced between Jason and Ben, and in that fleeting instant, I realized we were not alone. The truth we feared was lurking in the darkness, mere steps away from confronting us, and with it, the reality of all we had yet to uncover, our very lives hanging by a thread. As I huddled closer to Jason, resolute and desperate, I clung to the only thing that felt solid, belief. But, as the footsteps drew nearer, the dawning of a harsh truth settled heavily on my chest. This confrontation was no longer about surviving, it was choosing to trust in the unknown, in the darkness that lay ahead, a darkness that might consume everything I held dear. The chill of the night air wrapped around us, amplifying the tension that had settled deep in my bones. I could hear the distant rustling of leaves, mingling with a quickened heartbeat that pounded somewhere beneath the swell of uncertainty. Instinctively, I leaned closer to Jason, seeking comfort in his presence, but a lingering doubt twisted within me, a doubt fueled by Ben's unsettling revelations. Who's out there? I whispered, my voice barely a thread in the heavy silence. The shadows seemed to darken even further, as if they were inhaling the very light around us. Ben caught my eye, his expression etched with concern. We need to move, now. He stepped back, scanning the perimeter, his body tensed, ready for flight or fight. No. Jason's voice surged with an edge that held both authority and fear. We can't just run without knowing what's behind us. We need a plan. That's a ridiculous plan. Ben shot back. Your stubbornness might get us all killed. He turned to me, desperation lacing his tone. Jess, please, please trust me. If we don't leave now, we won't have a chance at all. His plea struck me, reverberating against the walls of my indecision. A part of me remembered the boy who had always been my steadfast ally, his unwavering embrace the balm for my fears. But could I trust him now, after all he had stayed silent about? Suddenly, a soft rustling broke through the tension, and a figure emerged from the shadowy depths of the trees, a stranger, cloaked in dark fabric, eyes bright like shards of glass reflecting the moonlight. My heart raced, a primal instinct kicking in, readying myself for whatever came next, but instead of brandishing a weapon, the figure raised their hands in a gesture of peace. I don't want to hurt you, they said, their voice calm, yet low enough to still feel the menacing weight of secrecy surrounding them. Who are you? Jason demanded, stepping in front of me, his body tense and ready. What do you want? The stranger smiled faintly, revealing a soft warmth amidst the tension. I'm here to help. There's no time to explain everything, but I know the truth you're seeking. And I can keep you safe. I glanced from Jason to Ben, confusion knitting my brow tighter than ever. How can we be sure you're telling the truth? Because I know why you're here, Jess, the stranger replied, their gaze piercing into mine, as if we shared a connection that transcended the shadows looming over us. The air thickened, laden with unsaid promises and the unrelenting weight of my unresolved questions. What do you know? I dared to ask, an ember of hope igniting within the tangled web of fear I had woven, but before the figure could respond, a pounding footfall echoed through the night, colliding with the silence, dragging me back into the peril of the moment. Jason, still focused on the stranger, shifted, we don't need your help. We'll figure this out on our own. Ben's frustration flared. That's not true. We can't face this alone. The tension spiraled, tighter and tighter, dangerous enough to snap. The stranger, unfazed by our mounting panic, spoke with a clarity that pierced through the noise. If you want answers, you must come with me. There's nowhere else to go if you wish to uncover the secrets that bind you. I hesitated, torn between my loyalty to Jason and the glimmer of truth dangling just within reach. The thought of taking a leap of faith standing at the precipice and ready to jump terrified me. What if I fell? Jess, Jason said softly, his voice wrapped in sincerity, his eyes searching mine. Please, don't do this. We can know. I interrupted, the desperation casting shadows over my heart. I can't stand in the dark anymore. I need to know. Before Jason could voice his protest, I glanced at Ben, whose expression was a blend of fear and understanding. What if we're not just dealing with secrets? He said, his voice trembling with a sense of urgency I had seldom heard before back in the warm innocence of our childhood. What if we're facing something far more dangerous? The stranger turned towards the sound of breaking branches. Urgency lacing every motion. You need to decide. Now. Time stretched painfully, seconds yawning into an abyss of uncertainty. The approaching footsteps grew louder, their rhythm entrancing, almost hypnotic, as a horrifying realization sank into the core of my being. The past, present, and future were colliding, and I was trapped in the middle, forced to navigate memories and secrets, the truths I longed for and the ones I dreaded. Let us go, I finally said, the words slipping past my lips like surrender. As I stepped forward, shadows began engulfing me, darkness threatening to swallow the last vestiges of light behind me. But in front of me lay an unknown path, knotted with fear yet tinged with the possibility of truth. Just as I turned to Jason one last time, seeking a final shred of reassurance, the figure darting through the trees was not the only thing I heard. A low growl emerged from the shadows, primal and chilling, echoing the deep-rooted fears entwined within my fragile sense of security. That heartbeat. I knew our choice wasn't just about secrets anymore, it was about life and death, truth and lie, and perhaps all we'd known had been nothing more than a facade built on an ever-weakening ground of deception. The darkness surged closer. In that moment, standing on the precipice of my own truth, I realized that I had to forge ahead, whether I was ready or not. The forest became a maze of shadows, each tree stretching its limbs like gnarled fingers, eager to ensnare us in their embrace. I followed the stranger, who glided through the underbrush, leaving only fleeting whispers of movement behind them. Despite the urgency pressing on my chest like a vice, hesitation tugged at my heart. Jason's worried gaze lingered on me, a mixture of anger and concern swirling within his dark depths. "What are you doing?" he demanded, the force of his emotions palpable in the air. "You can't trust them. We don't even know their name." "I don't," I admitted, struggling to mask the tremor in my voice. "But I need to know what is going on. All this time, I've only been guessing." The stranger glanced back, shadowed features softening as they caught my eye. "Your journey begins with the truth, Jess. I promise you, it's not as terrifying as it seems." But I felt the weight of Jason's disappointment like a stone in my gut. I wanted to turn back, to reach for his hand and find comfort in the familiarity we once shared. Yet, the other part of me, a part that had been silenced for far too long, yearned for answers, needed to understand the chaos that swirled around us. The growling grew louder, a guttural sound swelling with fury. Whatever was lurking in the shadows behind us was drawing closer, driven by a hunger that felt all too real. I quickened my pace, hoping the stranger knew the way as I glanced over my shoulder one last time. "Stay together," Ben shouted, falling in step with Jason, who had taken a protective stance at my side despite the tension still crackling between us. "Wait." I felt a small pang of panic as I saw the uncertainty etched in Ben's face. What if this is a trap? What if we're walking into something far worse? The stranger turned, their expression flickering with a hint of understanding. "Sometimes trust has to come with risk." Out there, they gestured with a sweeping hand toward the darkness we were fleeing. "The unknown is far worse than the path ahead. You'll find safety with the secrets I hold." With each heartbeat, my courage faltered and surged. The sound of crashing branches echoed like ominous bells, reminding me that we were not alone in this idyllic nightmare. I gritted my teeth, reminding myself that if I let fear govern my choices, I'd always be bound to the darkness. Every step forward was a step into the light of the unknown. "I don't feel safe," Jason finally said in a low growl, and I could see the flicker of pain in his eyes, the struggle against the encroaching shadows. "We can't keep following this person." I reached out, gripping his arm firmly. "What other choice do we have? We can't stay here." I had to fight for our future, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. Just as I thought we had escaped the worst of it, the growl transformed into a menacing snarl. A massive shape broke through the underbrush, fur dark as midnight, teeth glistening with a deadly promise. Fear screamed at me to retreat, to run back into the safety of Jason's arms. But maturity, that gnawing instinct to confront the storm, urged me to stay. That I stumbled back, clutching at Jason as we both stared in horror. And as if sensing our fear, the monstrous creature paused, nostrils flaring as it surveyed us with calculating eyes. The stranger stood firm, grounding their presence between us and the looming threat. "Stay back," the stranger commanded, their voice unwavering as they reached into their cloak. Their movements were fluid, ceremonial, as they produced a small orb that glowed with an ethereal light, the air vibrating around it like a strumming guitar string. The glowing orb pulsed, bathing the clearing in its warmth. To my utter disbelief, the creature stilled, its fierce posture softening, intrigued by the beacon of light. "Trust me," the stranger urged, holding the orb toward the beast. "This is not our enemy. You must believe." A communion of instinct and choice surged within me. It was the same feeling I had when I first laid eyes on Jason all those years ago, the urge to believe in the goodness residing even within darkness. I took a deep breath, willing myself to accept this leap of faith, even as doubts clawed at my mind. As the creature tilted its head, I caught Jason's gaze, held it fiercely, willing him to see the flicker of something profound behind my frayed edges. "Maybe there's more to see here than meets the eye." Suddenly, the glowing orb released a bright beam that swept across the woods like a lighthouse, illuminating the truth lurking in every nook and cranny. A chorus of whispers rose with the light, haunting yet sweet, words wrapping around us like a comforting embrace. Then, as quickly as it had all begun, the light dimmed, and the creature retreated into the shadows, leaving something behind, a rusted pendant, glinting in the shadows, as if it too held secrets of its own. Jess. Jason's voice was low, trembling with fear and doubt. What did we just do? But before I could respond, an echoing voice rang out through the darkness, chilling me to the bone. It spoke with certainty, its tone imbued with a familiar cruelty. You've chosen the wrong path, Jess. And now you'll be made to pay. The world stilled. It was a voice I recognized, like a buried memory rising to the surface, taunting me with its presence. Every ounce of hope I had just grasped faded away, leaving behind only the weight of impending dread. Who was that? Ben whispered, his face pale as salt. I can't, I stuttered, my pulse racing as despair flooded in once more. That voice, it's someone I thought was gone. The truth loomed over us, heavier than the shadows surrounding. I had taken a step into the abyss, and now I could feel it closing in. The darkness was not just out there, it was echoing through me, whispering confession of secrets long buried. And as I reached for the clawing light of hope, I realized sometimes the monsters we run from have been hiding in plain sight all along. The air crackled with uncertainty, the remnants of the stranger's glow fading into the encroaching darkness as the haunting voice lingered ominously, a ghost weaving through our defiance. Jason's hand tightened on my arm, and I felt the tremors racing through him, mirroring my own fear. The past we had tried to escape was clawing its way back to haunt us, and I could sense it reaching for the heart still tethered to memories. What do you mean, you thought they were gone? Jason's whisper was urgent, laced with desperation as he searched for clarity amid the chaos of shifting shadows. I wanted to tell him everything, that the voice belonged to someone who had wrought chaos in my life, someone who had claimed to protect me but whose love had been laced with manipulation. Yet, with each word that danced on my lips, an invisible force pushed them back down, yearning to shield him from a truth so jagged it seemed to cut through the air. I began, but another growl echoed through the trees, urgent and foreboding. I flinched, instinctively stepping closer to Jason, and the walls encasing my heart braced against the memories. I could feel the very essence of the forest shift, as though the trees conspired against my resolve, urging me to confront what I'd rather forget. We need to move, Ben intervened, his voice steady despite the fear etched on his face. Standing here won't help us. If that voice finds you, his words hung in the air, a weighty reminder of the danger lurking just beyond the corner of our collective minds. It was my father, I stammered, finally letting the truth burst forth like a dam breaking, yet swallowed by the winds of despair. He swore he would protect me, yet he only hurt me. And now he is here. Jason's eyes flickered with anguish as he processed my revelation, almost as if he were grappling with the implications it entailed for our fragile connection. I won't let him hurt you again, he said fiercely, determination sparking a flicker of courage within me. We'll get through this together, Jess. I promise. But with every promise exchanged, I felt the chasm of uncertainty yawn wider, threatening to swallow not just my heart, but the bond we had fought so tenaciously to mend. The ache of past scars intertwined with the growing dread of potential betrayal whispering behind the shadows like a witch's curse. Would Jason still stand beside me when the weight of my truth revealed itself in its entirety? The stranger shifted, a silent sentinel beyond the edge of illumination, nodding knowingly. The darkness seeks to exploit your fears. But within the heart of the forest, secrets can guide or betray. Trust in those who stride alongside you. Their voice was gentle yet firm, and for the first time, I sensed a glimmer of something almost maternal in their presence. A strange comfort washed over me despite the chaos, a reminder that even in the darkest corridors, there existed chances for hope. Without waiting for further instruction, I stepped forward, my heart beating in time with the cadence of the whispers surrounding us. We moved deeper into the heart of the forest, a peculiar luminescence lighting our path in shades of blue and green, illuminating the twisted undergrowth. Each step felt heavy, adrenaline coursing through my veins, pushing me to escape the echo of my past that chased us into every rustle and distant growl. As we ventured further, fleeting moments sparked between my companions, a shared glance here, a quiet smile there that reminded me we were tethered by both trauma and tenacity. The bonds of our fraught journey nurtured possibility, as it was in these small touches that the darkness beneath my skin felt less suffocating, but just as I allowed myself to believe, a crack split the air, followed by a sudden thud against the ground. We turned, startled. The pendant the creature had left behind lay there, now glowing with an energy of its own, pulsing ominously like a heartbeat, a tether to whatever darkness still awaited us. "What is happening?" Ben asked, wide-eyed as he stared at the pendant, a mix of fear and wonder. Before any of us could respond, the ground beneath us trembled, and roots erupted upward like grasping claws, twining around Jason's legs and pulling him back toward the shadows I had fought so desperately to escape. "Jason!" My scream pierced through the air, thick with adrenaline. I lunged forward as he struggled against the tightening grip, but the dark roots tightened, hauling him further down, into a realm beneath the glimmering light. "Jess, help!" His face contorted in pain and desperation. I felt the fractures of our past, the blind trust yearning to be restored, all bleed through the growing abyss between us. "No!" I shouted, panicking, reaching out, my fingers grazing his in a final plea. "Don't let go. You have to fight." But just before I could grasp his hands fully, he vanished beneath the cover of the treacherous roots, leaving only silence behind, a void where his warmth had been, where hope flickered weakly, fighting against the surge of despair that threatened to devour me whole. In the throbbing stillness of the encroaching shadows, a voice emerged from the depths, sneering and mocking. "You can't save him, Jess. You've already lost." A sickening realization crept in. I had ventured into the unknown seeking strength, but now I stood at the precipice of losing everything, and that light inside me flickered, ready to extinguish into nothing. The darkness that enveloped me felt more palpable than ever, a suffocating blanket woven from fear and regret. My breath came in shallow gasps as I stumbled backward, the weight of reality settling heavily on my shoulders. One moment, Jason had been there, a source of strength and determination, and the next, he was gone, swallowed by the roots of despair that had become the embodiment of my greatest fears. "Jess!" Ben's voice broke through my haze, frantic and piercing. He stepped forward, his expression etched with worry as he searched for the courage I had somehow lost. "We can't just stand here. We need to find him." I shook my head violently, my thoughts swirling in chaotic confusion. "But how?" I whispered, glancing toward the shadowy maw from which Jason had vanished. The very ground seemed to pulse with a sinister heartbeat, as if mocking my inability to act. "He wouldn't want us to give up," Ben urged, stepping closer and reaching for my hand. For a brief moment, the warmth of his touch grounded me, reminding me that I was not entirely alone. His eyes held a fervor fueled by desperation, a flicker of hope igniting against the odds stacked against us. "I'm scared," I confessed, my voice trembling as I fought against the tears that threatened to spill over. "What if I can't save him? What if my past has come back to claim him too?" Ben's grip tightened around my hand, a lifeline in the tempest. "Then we fight. Together. Just like we always have. We can't let the darkness win." I looked into his eyes, searching for answers but finding only unwavering determination. Something shifted within me amidst the tide of my anguish, a flicker of resilience igniting deep in my core. The shadows may have consumed Jason for now, but we weren't finished fighting, not yet. Drawing in a deep breath, I nodded slowly, feeling the warmth of Ben's hand enhance my resolve. We needed direction, a way to break through this nightmare. And as if on cue, the pendant glowed more fiercely at my feet, illuminating an intricate pattern that had been obscured in the dimness, a path woven in the earth where the roots contorted. The air felt charged, quivering with potential as I stepped closer to the pendant. My heart raced in synchrony with the pulse of the forest around us, suddenly aware of the faint whispers that slithered through the leaves. They resonated with a call, an invitation hidden beneath layers of my fear. "Do you feel that?" I asked, glancing towards Ben, and he nodded, his expression filled with curiosity. Following the radiant glow beneath me, I tipped forward, entranced by the energy surging from the pendant, emanating like a beacon in the dark. Guided by an urge I couldn't comprehend, I reached down and grasped it, feeling a wave of warmth cascade through my fingertips. The ground shuddered beneath me, and I could almost hear the roots sigh, loosening their grip on the world around me. "Show us the way," I implored, as memories of Jason flooded my mind, his laughter, his kindness, the way he always saw beyond my scars. It ignited something deep within me, a truth strengthened by love and connections that could not easily be severed. Light burst forth from the pendant, flooding the forest air with brilliance, illuminating a passageway unfurling across the darkened soil. The roots began to recede, creating an opening that beckoned me the promise of hope laid bare before us. "Let us go," I urged, feeling Ben's presence beside me as we stepped forward, stepping into the light that outlined a path filled with possibilities. But just before we crossed the threshold, a chilling breeze swept through, and the mocking voice reverberated through the woods, heavy with malice. "You think you can save him? The truth is, Jess, you have no idea what you're walking into." My heart raced, dread washing over me. "What do you mean?" I screamed into the void, desperate for answers that felt eternally out of reach. Suddenly, the energy from the pendant surged, almost as if responding to my plea. The light twisted and turned into a vortex, the air around us thunderous as questions swirled and merged with my fears. I felt a surge of something darker enveloping me, an echo of my father's voice whispering through the trees like a taunting lullaby that urged me to turn back before it was too late. Before I could process it, the ground trembled under my feet, the pathway before me spiraling away into nothingness, revealing a chasm teeming with shadows and whispers. "No!" I shouted, clutching the pendant tighter, its light pulsating in rhythm with my racing heart. With one last glance back at Ben, whose eyes widened in horror, I was struck by a realization that cut sharper than any blade. There was something sinister lurking in the depths, something that wanted to drag me into the dark, and it wasn't just about Jason anymore. It was about me, my past, and the truth that had yet to be unveiled. "Trust in those who stride alongside you," the stranger's words echoed back to me, the warning wrapped in comfort. This message clawed at my mind, and I felt it more acutely than before. What dark secrets lay hidden within the forest? What betrayal could the voice be hinting at? And as I stood teetering on the edge of that abyss, the line between hope and despair blurred, threatening to consume me whole. The chasm yawned before me, a gaping maw of shadows that promised to swallow not just my heart but the very essence of my being. I struggled against the rising tide of despair that threatened to drag me under, grappling with memories of a life I had fought so hard to claim, memories still haunted by my father's oppressive presence. "Jess, we have to go." Ben's urgent plea echoed in my ears, yet I felt frozen, caught between the beacon of light shining from the pendant in my grasp and the darkness looming on the edges of consciousness. My thoughts raced, swirling like leaves caught in a tempest. Every moment spent alone in that silence echoed the fear of loss, of the unknown threatening to erase everything I held dear. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself, feeling the pull of the pendant urging me to move forward. Whatever awaited just beyond the precipice, the truths buried deep in the shadows, wasn't just about Jason anymore. It was about facing my own demons, the very ones that had long whispered lies into my ear. "Let us find him," I said, my voice trembling but filled with newfound determination. With my heart thrumming in time with the pendant, I stepped forward, and without looking back, I declared my intent to dissipate the darkness that sought to consume me. The path beneath me shimmered, the roots shifting away to reveal an illuminated corridor winding deeper into the heart of the forest. The glimmering light enveloped us, leading the way as we pressed onward, moving hand in hand against the shadows creeping on all sides. Ben's grip was firm, grounding me in a world that threatened to spin out of control, yet even as I felt his presence beside me, I couldn't shake the sense that something awaited, something fragile perhaps, but too significant to ignore. And then, as we continued down the path, it expanded, opening into a clearing that took my breath away. Moonlight bathed the landscape, illuminating a small glade where the air shimmered with an enchanting energy. In the center lay a fountain, mystical waters cascading, catching the light in a luminous dance. It was beautiful but eerie, a haunting reminder of the duality weaving through every thread of my life, but it was what lay beside the fountain that struck terror into my heart. Jason lay there, motionless, the boy who had chased away my shadows reduced to an echo of what he once was. Shadows clung to him, coiling like serpents around his body, eliciting a fear that ignited every fiber of my being. Jason! I cried out, racing across the clearing, each step pulling me closer but also filling me with dread. I fell to my knees beside him, my heart pounding as I reached out, brushing his hair from his face. He looked so peaceful yet so dangerously still, and I could see the marks of the previous fight lingering faintly on his skin. What happened? I whispered, the weight of despair crashing over me like a tidal wave. I shook him gently, pleading with every ounce of my heart, please come back to me. His eyes fluttered open, revealing cerulean depths that flashed with confusion and pain. Jess, his voice cracked, hoarse as though he had been clinging to the edges of consciousness. What, where are we? It's going to be okay, I whispered, I'm here. Just hold on. My throat constricted with emotion, the gravity of the moment pressing down as I fought against the swell of fear threatening to swallow me whole. Ben hovered nearby, his eyes darting between us, the gravity of our situation weighing heavily on his shoulders. He needs to come back to himself, he needs to wake up fully. How? I felt the tremor of desperation creeping back into my voice. What if it's too late? The stranger's voice echoed back to me, wrapping around my doubts. Sometimes trust has to come with risk. Out there, the unknown is far worse than the path ahead. I grasped the pendant tightly, feeling its warmth seep deep within me, an unyielding force calling me to fight against the darkness enveloping us. In that moment, empowerment surged through me, illuminating the shadows that had ebbed into my life for too long. I could be the one who conjured light from darkness, not just for Jason but for myself as well. The truths that had once shackled me now offered a chance to forge a deeper connection. What are you afraid of, Jess? I asked, though the question resonated more for myself than for Jason. We've faced danger before. Together. You taught me how. I watched as Jason shifted slightly, his gaze growing more focused, as though he could feel my fervor igniting the fire within him, and I knew we could light our way out of this despair. Suddenly, the roots that had trapped us began to unwind, loosening their grip around Jason. In that subtle but profound moment, I understood this darkness could not extinguish what we shared. It couldn't overshadow the lessons learned, the love nurtured through our dealings. Come back to me, I urged, putting everything I had into those words, channeling every ounce of hope and love coursing through my veins. He blinked, his eyes clearing as a flicker of recognition ignited behind them. There's a light in you, Jess, he murmured, his voice stronger now, almost daring. Don't let anyone extinguish it. Not even him. My heart raced, the shadows shifting once more, but I cast them aside. It was time to confront my truth, to unravel the secrets wrapped around our fates, one thread at a time. I'll fight for you. For us, I declared with ferocity, holding the pendant before us as its glow brightened, creating a barrier between us and the incessant shadows. I felt Ben's presence solidify beside me, lending his strength as we stood united, but as the light radiated outward, the familiar voice echoed through the clearing one last time, chilling me to my core. You think you can fight what has always belonged to me? A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked and menacing, my father lurking where light dared not tread. What do you want? I shouted, rage bubbling within me, an unforeseen defiance. You are not my protector. You've never been. He smiled, that wicked smile I had fearfully associated with the control he exerted over the years. Ah, but you still don't understand, do you? To protect is to control, and what you thought was protecting you has always been just a guise for possession. You're wrong. I countered, my heart thundering in my chest. The darkness you wield can't hold me down. Not anymore. With each heartbeat, the glow from the pendant spread like wildfire, filling the clearing with brilliant light. Jason, Ben, and I stood resolute, united in our defiance against the shadows that had haunted me for far too long. Together, we had become more than just fragmented pieces. We were a force forged in trust, resilience, and hope. "This is the end for you, Dad," I declared, my voice now a weapon sharpened by years of silence, confusion, and pain. "This time, I choose to fight." And as the shadows retreated, swirling into the depths of the forest, the weight of fear slipped away. My heart felt lighter, untethered from the chains that had bound me for so long. As the light continued to pulse and shimmer, illuminating our path forward, I glanced at Jason, his eyes now glowing with vitality, a connection between us forged in unwavering trust. In that moment, beneath the canopy of the ancient trees, I realized I had found more than a guardian. I had discovered my truth and the strength to claim my life back. Together, we had unveiled the deepest shadows, the lies woven into the fabric of our stories, but more fundamentally, we stood on the precipice of something new. A chance to not only embrace the light, but to bask in the resilience of the bonds we had forged along this journey. That I turned to face the dawn breaking at the edge of the forest, the anticipation for the future sending a shiver of joy dancing through me. "Let us go," I murmured to my companions, the promise of what lay ahead shimmering like stardust in the air. And we did, stepping forward with a resolve that let the past echo behind us, as we embraced the brilliance of our futures, together. For forgiveness had formed in the cracks of despair, love entrenched beneath fear, nurturing strength, rebuilding everything we had ever known. The shadows no longer claimed me. I was free, and that freedom was fit to resonate through eternity. As I held on to Jason's hand, feeling the warmth and steadiness of his presence beside me, I whispered the last words echoing in my heart: "Together, we will illuminate every dark corner that threatens to pull us apart. Together, we are stronger."